afternoon, Bay Nation. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Bay. I'm your host, Mike Williams, and here's my co-host, Geoffrey.
Good afternoon, Bay Nation.
Geoffrey takes care of all the animations, flying into the stadium, different players, names, and all that good stuff. This guy takes care of that for me. Thanks, Geoffrey.
It is my pleasure, sir.
In today's episode, we're going to be going over every matchup for Week 4. I'll be giving my fantasy analysis on who you should start, who you should sit, and who's winning the game against the spread. So without further ado, let's get to the first matchup. Geoffrey, take me down to Buffalo.
I'm on it, sir. Here we go.
In this matchup, we have the Buffalo Bills versus the Houston Texans. The Bills are favored to win by 17 points in this one. That is a huge spread. This is the biggest spread of the week. This one's actually fairly simple. Josh Allen is absolutely incredible, must start. The Houston Texans are terrible on defense. He's going to have a great game. Next up, we have the running back position. Zach Moss, out of nowhere, actually playing pretty well. I definitely think you can start him as a flex play. Devin Singletary is but this is going to be a high-scoring game, so I definitely think there's going to be some points on the board. If you're desperate, you can play Singletary. I prefer not to, though. Next, we have the wide receiver position, Stephon Diggs. Can you dig it? Stephon Diggs is absolutely incredible, but he started the season off fairly slow. I think this is a get-right game. Houston Texans are terrible. Cole Beasley was getting a lot of targets last week. I definitely think in a full-point PPR, he's a great start. And Emmanuel Sanders, that old man, is now their deep threat. Fire him up. I think that he's going to be a great flex play with upside. At the tight end position, Dawson Knox. I like him this week. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. And with a tight end, what you're really searching for is a touchdown. And the higher the score, the more likely you are to get a touchdown. I also think you can fire up their defense and kicker. Their defense is like the best defense this week. Houston is not very good. And to be honest with you, the Bills have been playing great defense so far this year. And I don't think it stops this week. All right, next up we have the Houston Texans. And I'm going to keep this quick. The only player I would even think of starting is Brandon Cooks. But Brandon Cooks is most likely going to be shadowed by Tre'Davious White, who is an absolute shutdown cornerback. I definitely think this is going to be a down week for him. I have him more as a flex play. I know he's been having 20 points a game every week, but I don't see it this week unless it comes to garbage time. And there's definitely going to be some garbage time. And that's going to do it for the Houston Texans. I honestly don't even want to look at starting anybody else on this team. Brandon Cooks is it, and he's a flex play. All right, now it's time to pick this game. ESPN has the Buffalo Bills at a 16.5-point favorite. I'm still going to have to choose them, though. I just don't think that the Texans are going to be able to score almost any points. And I mean, look what happened last week. They won by more than 21 points. And the team was better than the Texans. I think that the Texans have a shot to cover this spread. I don't by any means think that this is a lock, but I just think that the Bills' defense is incredible and the Texans are terrible. If you have a chance to last-minute trade, I would trade for Stephon Diggs and I would trade away Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks has a tough schedule coming up, and Stephon Diggs has been underperforming all year. Cole Beasley isn't going to be out-targeting him for the rest of the year. I definitely think that there's brighter days ahead for Stephon Diggs. Can you dig it? And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell down below. And check out all of my videos where I break down every game this week. All right, good luck this week. I'll see you soon. Peace. In this episode, we're going over the Tennessee Titans versus the New York Jets. Starting off with the Tennessee Titans, and I'm going to do something a little different. I'm starting with the wide receivers because that affects everybody else. So, A.J. Brown and Julio Jones are both going to be out in this game with hamstring injuries. I believe that A.J. Brown might be out a little longer than Julio Jones, but regardless, for this week, they're both out of here. So in regards to the rest of the wide receivers on this team, I'm really not throwing any darts. I would head somewhere else. It's not worth it. But going back to the quarterback position, I do think that you can still start Ryan Tannehill. It's just not preferred. I think that he's going to be a low-end quarterback 1, high-end quarterback 2. He's still going to get it done with his legs, and I do still think that he throws a couple touchdowns. But I think this is going to be the Derrick Henry game. Derrick Henry is going to be an absolute beast in this one. I would have him in daily. I actually have him in real leagues. I'm very excited for Derrick Henry in this game. I think he's going to absolutely blow up, fire him up. Not like you weren't playing him before, but he's definitely going to get you more points now that they don't have their two top receivers. I'm not playing with their tight end. I think you definitely can play their defense, though. Against the Jets have been horrific. So I think that the Titans' defense is going to be pretty solid this week. Moving on to the Jets, and I'm not starting anybody on this team other than Corey Davis, who I have as a flex play. Alright, that's going to do it for the fantasy breakdown. Now it's time to pick who's going to win this game against the spread. The spread for this game is 7.5 points. Titans. That's a big spread when you lose two of your top wide receivers. I'm going to go with the Jets. I don't think they win this game. Let me be clear. I don't think they win. But winning by 7.5? I think that the Jets can't score a couple points. Alright, that's going to do it for this one. If you want any more weekly breakdowns, check out my other episodes. Good luck this week. Peace. Good afternoon, Bay Nation. In this episode, we're going to go over the Bears versus the Lions. Let's start off with the Chicago Bears. First off, quarterback. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be. It could be Justin Fields, it could be Andy Dalton, it could be Nick Foles for all we know. But what we do know is we're not starting any of them. So moving on. The wide receiver position. Allen Robinson has had a terrible year so far. And I can't really blame him. It's not the talent that's really knocking him. It's the quarterback. I'm not panicked yet, but I really hope that he gets some better quarterback play soon, because if not, this could be one of the biggest busts of the year. I do like his talent. I still think he has it, and I'm holding out hope that they turn it around this week against the Lions, guys. It's the Lions. We should be able to take care of this. I think Allen Robinson has a bounce-back game in this one. And I'm not starting Darnell Mooney until the quarterback proves that he can actually throw a ball. Next, we have the running back position, David Montgomery. David Montgomery has also been taking a step back because of the quarterback position. The quarterback has really downgraded this entire offense. But I do think that David Montgomery is going to have a solid game. He is going against the Lions, and I have him as a high-end running back too. I think that he's very talented, and he should get more involved into the offense. He should be fine. Next, we have the tight end position. I'm going to sit Cole Kmet until further notice. I think you can't play the defense if you're desperate. The Lions don't really scare me, and the Bears' defense is actually pretty solid. Next, we have the kicker, and I'm pretty good on that. Moving on to the Lions, starting off with the quarterback position. No Jared Goff for sure. Running back position, you got to start DeAndre Swift. He's been playing absolutely phenomenal. And I think that if you're desperate, you can play Jamal Williams as a flex play. Moving on to the wide receiver position, no on all accounts. Tight end, TJ Hawkinson is the best pass catcher they have right now. I definitely think you fire him up. Top 5 play for sure. Next, we have the defense, no. Kicker, no. All right, time to pick this game. The Bears are 2.5 point favorites in this one. I'm going with the Lions. The Lions have been playing really hard football. They almost beat the Ravens last week, and it was very impressive, even though they lost. I just feel like they're going to compete extremely hard from start to finish, and they might get this one. Alright, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell down below. If you have any questions, hit me up. If you want some more content like this or any other team breakdowns, check out the rest of my page. Alright, I'll see you soon. Good luck this week. Peace. Good afternoon, Bay Nation. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Bay. Today we're going over the Colts versus the Dolphins. And we're going to start off with the Indianapolis Colts. At the quarterback position, no one is starting Carson Wentz. Keep it moving. Running back, Jonathan Taylor has been a massive disappointment so far this year. But I think that he turns it around going against the Miami Dolphins. Fire him up as a low-end running back 1. Nyheim Hines has been stepping in, getting some work in the passing game and in the rushing game. I think you can start him as a flex play. Moving on to the wide receiver position. Michael Pittman Jr. is actually the only one I'm looking for here. I think that he's going to be a flex play. I'm curious to see what happens with Zach Pascal. I haven't seen too much work from him recently. Very curious to see if he's going to get more involved. Next, we have the tight end position. No. Defense, yes. Kicker, sure, why not? All right, moving on to the Miami Dolphins. Starting at the top, Tua is out. Jacoby Brissett's in, and he's not in your lineup. Put him on the bench. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Jalen Waddle has been getting enough targets to where I think that he's going to be viable in half-point and full-point PPR. Fire him up as a flex play with upside. Next, we have the running back position. Myles Gaskin is getting most of the work, so I think that you could definitely play him, but keep in mind that Malcolm Brown has taken up some of the goal line touches, and that's going to decrease the value of Myles Gaskin. I don't think that Myles Gaskin is that running back one that some people thought he was coming into this year, but I still think that he's going to be a running back two. Next, we have the tight end position, and Mike Gesicki, who got 12 targets last week. I definitely think you can fire him up if you need some tight end help. And I actually think you can play the defense against the Colts too. With Carson Wentz dinged up, I think that'd be a fine start. All right, that's enough for the game breakdown. Let's move on to the pick'em. The Dolphins are 1.5 point favorites in this one, and I'm going with the Dolphins. This was actually a tough pick for me. I went back and forth a lot on this one. I do think that the Colts have a fairly solid chance. Obviously, the spread is only 1.5, but I think that the Dolphins are going to win at home. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you have any questions, hit me up. If you want to see more content like this, I have all the other games broken down on my page. Good luck this week, and I'll see you soon. Peace. In this episode, we're going to go over the Green Bay Packers versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to start off with those Steelers. Big Ben has looked terrible recently. I think he might be washed. Obviously not starting him. Moving on to the wide receiver position. Chase Claypool is out for this game. I just got an update on that. It's very unfortunate, but plan to not have Chase Claypool. Deontay Johnson looks like he's going to be healthy for this game. I would monitor the health of Deontay Johnson and Juju Smith-Schuster. Deontay Johnson seems like he's trending in the right way, but keep an eye on them just in case. I think that Deontay Johnson is a wide receiver 2 if healthy, and Juju Smith-Schuster is a flex play with upside to be a wide receiver 2. Next, moving on to the running back position. Najee Harris is an absolute beast. I definitely think you obviously fire him up, and I think he has a solid game against the Green Bay Packers. He had 14 receptions last week on 19 targets. Absolutely incredible. I do think those targets come down with Deontay Johnson back, but he's still very viable to have a good game this week. So fire him up. And I'm not starting the tight end, defense. Moving on to the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers, that bad man. I definitely think you fire him up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers don't scare you like they used to. That defense used to be vaunted, incredible. It would make you stop in your tracks if you're going to play somebody against them, but they haven't been that great this year. So fire up Aaron Rodgers. Moving on to the running back position, I think that Aaron Jones is another start this week, obviously. He's a beast. Of course, you never sit Aaron Jones. Now, this isn't a good matchup for him because the Steelers are good against the run, but TJ Watt is dealing with an injury. I'm very curious to see if he comes back. I definitely think it's going to be easier to run on them if TJ Watt is out, but if he's in, you're obviously still starting Aaron Jones. It's just going to be a little bit different. He might get more involved in the passing game. And I'm not starting A.J. Dillon until he proves that he's going to be viable on a regular basis. Moving on to the wide receiver position, the only one that I want to talk about is Devontae Adams is an absolute beast. You obviously start him no matter what every week. He's the #1 wide receiver in the league. Fire him up. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is dealing with an injury at the moment, so I think there's a chance that he may not play in this game, and I think I saw something about him possibly going on the IR, so keep an eye out for that. I'm not really trying to start any of the other receivers, though. Lazard would be a desperation flyer, but I'm really not trying to do that either. Moving on to the tight end position, Robert Tonyan is a touchdown-dependent tight end, so if you think he's going to get a touchdown, fire him up. But with Marquez Valdes-Scantling out, there's a shot that he throws a touchdown to him. Moving on to the defense, I think they can be played in this one. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been very underwhelming this year. And you can fire up the kicker. All right, time to pick this game. The Packers are 6.5 point favorites in this one, and I got to go with the Packers. The Steelers just have not been playing very well, and Aaron Rodgers is trying to prove that he's still that bad man. And people need to stop doubting him. So I think that he definitely beats him by a touchdown. All right, thanks for checking this out. If you have any other questions, don't forget to hit me up. And if you want to see any other breakdowns, check out my other videos. Good luck this week. Peace. Good afternoon, Bay Nation. In this episode, we're going over the Seattle Seahawks versus the San Francisco 49ers. Starting with the Seahawks. At the quarterback position, Russell Wilson, you're starting him every single week. We don't really need to dive too much into that one. He's a beast. Yes, he had a down game last week. I think he has a fine game this week. Moving forward, we have the wide receivers. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, obvious must starts, top 12 plays. Moving on to the running back position, Chris Carson is a great play as well. Fire him up. Moving on to the tight end position, Gerald Everett, I believe, is dinged up. If you're really, really desperate, you can play Will Disley, but I prefer not to. Moving on to the defense, no kicker. Nah, maybe if you want to. I'm kind of whatever about the kicker. Next, we have the San Francisco 49ers. Starting at the top, Jimmy Garoppolo, no thank you. Moving on to the wide receiver position, Deebo Samuel, I definitely think you fire up. Brandon Ayuk, only if you're very desperate, and I prefer not to. Going on to the running back position, this is where it gets tricky. Elijah Mitchell, a lot of you got him off of waiver wire, paid up a lot for him, want to play him. But he's dinged up right now. If he plays, I think that you can play him if you're desperate, which some of us are. And if he doesn't play, I think that Trey Sermon could be played as a flex play, but I would really not be looking forward to that. Next, we have the tight end position, and George Kittle is obviously a must start every week. He's an absolute beast. Currently, he's dinged up, so keep a lookout for that on Sunday. If his status changes, you may need to have a pivot. Next, we have the defense. No. Kicker, no. All right, time to pick this game. All right, time to get into pigskin. Pick them on this game. The 49ers are 2.5-point favorites in this game. Give me the Seahawks. I just feel like the Seahawks are a better team. I don't like to bet against Russell Wilson. He's an absolute beast, and I think that he pulls it through. All right, that's going to do it for this one. If you have any questions, hit me up. If you want any more content like this, like team breakdowns or the pick'em, check out my page, and all the games are going to be there. All right, good luck this week. See you soon. Peace. In this episode, we're going over the Bucs versus the Patriots. Tom Brady's heading back to New England for the first time. I am so excited, and I'm sure you are too. All right, let's get into it. Starting off with the Buccaneers. Obviously, you're starting Tom Brady. Tom Brady's an absolute beast this year so far, and that's going to continue this week going against his old team. Next, we have the wide receiver position. I think you fire them all up. I have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans both as wide receiver 2s, and I have Antonio Brown as a wide receiver 3 flex play. Next, moving on to the running back position, Ronald Jones has been terrible this year, so I'm putting him on the bench. The Patriots are actually a pretty good defense all around, so I'm really not excited to start a backup running back in Ronald Jones. If you're desperate, I think you can start Leonard Fournette as a flex play, but I'm not excited about that either. Next, moving on to the tight end position, Rob Gronkowski's going to be out this week, and I really don't want to start any of the other tight ends. I think if you had to pick one, Cameron Brate. All right, moving on to the defense. Absolutely fire them up against the Patriots. They don't scare me on the offensive end. Next, we have the kicker and fire them up. Next, moving on to the New England Patriots. This is actually fairly easy. I don't want to start almost anybody. Damian Harris is a desperation flex play, but I definitely think he's going to get locked down in the running game, and he's not involved in the passing game, so I'm not excited about that. At the wide receiver position, I think you can start Jacoby Myers, because if you're going to attack the Buccaneers somewhere, it's definitely in our secondary, and I think Jacoby Myers should be a solid flex play. Other than that, I don't want to start anybody else on this team. All right, it's time to pick this game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 6.5-point favorites over the New England Patriots. Give me those Buccaneers. The Patriots are going down like the Catalina wine mixer. It's going to be a beatdown. Tom Brady is going to show the New England Patriots why he still has it and that they shouldn't have let him go, because this is what happens. And I actually think that the receivers are going to have a great game, even though the Patriots are a good defense. This is what you do when you see your ex. You got to flaunt the new ones. You got to let them know. This is what you could have had. So I think the Buccaneers win this game by more than 6.5. They're extremely talented, and their defense is incredible. They're going against a rookie quarterback. All right, that's going to do it for this one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell down below. If you have any questions, don't forget to hit me up. And if you want to see a breakdown for any of the games this week, check out my page. All right, I'll see you soon. Good luck. Peace. In this episode, we're going to go over the Los Angeles Rams versus the Arizona Cardinals. Let's start off with the Los Angeles Rams. Matthew Stafford has been playing incredible this year since he has joined the Rams. Fire him up. Next, moving on to the wide receiver position, Cooper Kupp has been destroying the league. He's been absolutely fantastic. Fire him up every single week, obviously. Robert Woods, on the other hand, has been playing terribly. He's had a couple rough matchups, but honestly, Cooper Kupp has been outshining him at every turn. That being said, I do think that over time he will get better. I think that they're going to get a better connection. He makes me a little nervous, but I still have him as a high-end flex play, low-end wide receiver too. I'm not confident enough to start Deshaun Jackson yet, but I do think that he's a solid add, just in case he's still got it. Next, we have the running back position. Darrell Henderson is coming back from injury. If he's healthy, I play him as a running back too. If he's out, I think you start Sony Michel as a running back too as well. Moving on to the tight end position, Tyler Higbee had a solid game last week. I think that you could fire him up as a low-end tight end 1. Next, we have the defense. I don't think this defense has a great game against the Arizona Cardinals. So if you have another option, play them. If not, they are still a good defense, but the Cardinals are beastly, so I'd prefer not to. And you can fire up the kicker. Next, we have the Arizona Cardinals. You're obviously starting Kyler Murray. He's a beast this year. Next, you have the wide receiver position. DeAndre Hopkins is dinged up, and he's going to have really tough coverage in this game. But you're starting DeAndre Hopkins. Let's be real, let's be honest. So, obviously, fire him up. I would fade everybody else, though. All the other wide receivers, I'm really not trying to start. I'm not trying to play roulette on a bad matchup. Next, we have the running back position. Chase Edmonds is actually playing fairly solid. I have him as a running back, too. He's been getting a lot of receptions, and he's involved in the running game. James Conner had 2 touchdowns last week, and that may look good, but he's really not getting enough touches to be viable without those touchdowns. So I would prefer not to start him against a very tough Los Angeles Rams defense. And no thank you to the tight end, defense, or kicker. All right, it's time to pick this game. The Rams are 5.5-point favorites in this game. Give me the Arizona Cardinals. I think that the Cardinals keep up and make this game very close. I'm very impressed with what I've seen so far from this team, and I'm hoping that they can keep it going. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode. If you have any questions, hit me up. Don't forget to check out my page for any more breakdowns you may want to see. Alright, good luck this week. Peace. Good afternoon, Bay Nation. In this episode, we're going to be going over the Baltimore Ravens versus the Denver Broncos. Let's start off with the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson was dinged up earlier this week, but I believe he's going to go into this game healthy, so fire him up. Next, the wide receiver position. Marquise Brown is the only wide receiver that I'm looking to start, and if I do, he's a flex play. You got to hold on to the ball, man. Come on now. You dropped like 3 good balls last week. Next, we have the running back position. This is where it gets a little iffy. I don't know what they were doing last week with the running game. Tyson Williams and Latavius Murray weren't really involved at all, and I don't really understand why. Why didn't you run against the Detroit Lions? The world may never know. But you won the game, so oh well. This week, I don't have very much confidence in either of them. If you are desperate, I guess, Tyson Williams as a flex play with possible upside. And I'm not trying to start Latavius Murray. Moving on to the tight end position. Everyone's starting Mark Andrews. You drafted him in the top 5 rounds for a reason. That's it for the tight end position. Next, we have the defense. If you're desperate, sure, why not? But they haven't been playing great so far this year. So there are better options out there. Moving on to the Denver Broncos. Starting at the top, Teddy Bridgewater, no thank you. Wide receivers, I like Cortland Sutton this week as a wide receiver 2, and then Tim Patrick as a flyer flex play. I think that Tim Patrick is still really talented. He's going to be involved. Next, we have the running back position, and I think both Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams can be solid running back 2s this week. Up until last week, they were splitting touches down the middle. Last week, Melvin Gordon got a couple more rushing attempts than Williams, but right now, I see it mostly as a split, and both of them can be viable as running back 2s. Next, we have the tight end position. Fire up Noah Fant. They didn't have to use him last week because they were dominating, but I do think that they will need him this week, so fire up Noah Fant. I'm not really excited about the Denver Broncos defense, but if you're in a pinch, I do think that they can be started. And kind of whatever about the kicker. And that's going to do it for the fantasy breakdown of this game. Let's get into Pigskin Pick'em. Right now, the Denver Broncos are favored by 1.5 on ESPN's Pigskin Pick'em. Get out of here with that. Lamar Jackson's winning this game. That's going to do it for this matchup. If you have any questions, hit me up. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell down below. If you like this content and you want to see any other games, just head to my page and I have them all there. Good luck in your matchups this week. Peace. Let's start off with the Carolina Panthers. If you're looking for a streamer, I do think that you can play Sam Darnold. I don't have him as a top 12 player or anything like that, but if Kirk Cousins and some of those other players aren't out there, I think that you can play Sam Darnold. Next, moving on to the wide receiver position. DJ Moore is a fantastic start this week. Fire him up. And Robbie Anderson has been disappointing all year, but if you're not going to play him this week, when are you going to play him? The Dallas Cowboys are not ones to be feared. Schooling Trayvon Diggs, he's actually been playing really well as a corner. But I do think that Robbie Anderson has a shot at playing well this week, but are you brave enough to put him in your lineup? That's to be determined. I am not going to be playing him anywhere that I don't have to, and luckily I don't have to. Next, we have the running back position, and with Christian McCaffrey out, Chuba Hubbard moves in to the starting lineup. I definitely think you fire him up. He's going to be a running back too. They're going to utilize him in the running game and in the passing game. I think it's going to be fairly solid. Fire him up. Next, we have the tight end position. No. Defense, no. Kicker, no. Moving to the Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? All right, let's get into the Dallas Cowboys. But before we get into the actual players, I want to talk about the defense they're playing against. The Carolina Panthers have been playing absolutely fantastic defense. Or have they? They've been playing against some pretty bad offenses. The Jets, the Saints, the Texans. These are not offenses that scare me. This week is the week that we're going to find out what the Carolina Panthers defense actually has. Because those Cowboys are coming. They are very good. Offensively, the Cowboys are one of the best teams in the league. So I definitely think that they're going to test the Carolina Panthers, and I'm not too worried about this. I think Dak Prescott's going to have a fine game. Obviously, fire him up. Start up Ezekiel Elliott. I may hold off on Tony Pollard, though, unless you really have to. He'd be a flex play at best, but I prefer not to. Next, you have the wide receiver position. Of course, you're starting Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. They're absolute beasts. Fire them up every week. I have them as wide receiver 2s with upside. And I know Dalton Schultz had a fantastic game last week, but I would prefer not to play him this week. Between him and Blake Jarwin, they're splitting the tight end touches. Next, we have the defense, no. Kicker, yeah, sure, why not? All right, that's going to do it for the fantasy breakdown. Let's get into the pigskin pick'em. The Cowboys are 4.5-point favorites. Give me those Cowboys. I definitely think they're going to win this game and show why they are a serious contender this year. They're going to win the division, and I think that they got a shot at making a little bit of noise in the playoffs. But that's not going to happen if they lose to teams like the Carolina Panthers. Yes, I know they are 3-0, but they're about to take an L in this one. All right, if you have any questions, don't forget to hit me up. Good luck in your matchups this week. And if you want more content like this, or you want to see any other game breakdowns, check out my page. All right, good luck this week. Peace. Good afternoon, Bay Nation. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Bay. In this episode, we're going over the Cleveland Browns versus the Minnesota Vikings. Starting it with the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins, I think, is a fine play in this matchup. The Browns don't scare me, and I think Kirk Cousins has been playing great so far this year. Next, we have the wide receiver position, and obviously you're starting Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Justin Jefferson, obviously, as a wide receiver 1, and Adam Thielen as a wide receiver 2 with upside. Next, we have the running back position, and here's where it gets interesting. So Dalvin Cook was injured last week, but I believe he's going to play this week. If he plays, he's in my lineup. If he doesn't, slide in Alexander Mattison. Also, check the waiver wire. I've seen some people drop Alexander Mattison, and they act like Dalvin Cook can't get injured again. Go grab him up. I definitely think that he is worth a stash. He's one of the few running backs that you can have and turn into a league winner. So if Alexander Mattison is the starter, you start him. If Dalvin Cook's the starter, you start him. Next, we have the tight end position, and if you're desperate, I think you can go with Tyler Conklin. He was looking good last week. I definitely think that he is worth a start if you are desperate. Next, we have the defense, no thank you, and kicker, no thank you. All right, going over to the Cleveland Browns. Starting at the top, Baker Mayfield has not proven that he is worth using in fantasy football, so pass. Moving on to the running back position, you start both. Nick Chubb is a running back 1 and Kareem Hunt as a running back 2 with definite upside considering he was one of the top 5 running backs last week. Next we have the wide receiver position, and with Jarvis Landry out, the only wide receiver that I'm looking at here is Odell Beckham Jr. I think he will get a majority of the targets, and I definitely think you can slide him into your lineup as a flex play with upside. That's it for the wide receiver position. No for the tight end. Maybe on the defense if you really need a defense, and maybe on the kicker. Alright, that's going to do it for the fantasy outlook of this game. Now it's time to talk about Pigskin Pick'em. So the Cleveland Browns are 2.5 point favorites in this matchup. I'm actually going to have to go with the Vikings. It was an impressive win last week against Seattle, and I think that they can keep that up, especially if Dalvin Cook is in the lineup. If Dalvin Cook's not there, I might have to reevaluate, but I'm going to have to go with those Minnesota Vikings, keeping it up. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to hit me up. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you get all of my new content. If you want more of this content, check out my page where I have all the breakdowns to the games. Good luck this week. See you soon. Peace. Good afternoon, Bay Nation. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Bay. In this episode, we're going to be going over the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to start off with the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, you're starting Patrick Mahomes. He's an absolute beast. You start him every week. You drafted him in the first 3 rounds. Next up, we have the wide receiver position. Tyreek Hill has actually been having a mass season so far. He blew up week 1, and then week 2 and 3, he was actually held in check, which is not something you hear about Tyreek Hill very often. And the Eagles defense has been playing very, very good against the wide receiver. They play 2 safeties deep, so they should be able to corral Tyreek Hill a little bit. But I actually think that the Chiefs are going to make a big effort in getting him the ball. So I actually have Tyreek Hill going off on this one. I think he's going to have a very good game. Fire him up. I'm not starting any of the other wide receivers. Moving on to the running back position. Clyde Edwards-Helaire showing last week. He actually played not terrible. Brava, brava. But will he keep it up this week? The Eagles defense is actually fairly solid against the running back, but I think he has an okay game. I don't think that he's going to blow up. I have him more as a low-end running back 2, high-end flex play this week, and I'm not starting any of the other running backs. And moving on to tight end, of course you're starting Travis Kelce. He's the best tight end in the league. Absolute beast. Fire him up. I'm not playing the defense, but I do think you can play the kicker. All right, moving on to the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts, the starting quarterback, I think you can fire him up, even if it's not pretty on the field like we saw against Dallas. Yikes. He still had more fantasy points than Dak Prescott, and Dak Prescott looked much better. So I definitely think you can fire up Jalen Hurts. He's going to be a dual threat with his arm and his leg, so I think he's going to be good for your fantasy team. Also, he's going to have to keep up with Patrick Mahomes. He's bound to put points on the board. So far this year, the Chiefs are one of the worst teams in the league at going against the quarterback and the running back. So, Miles Sanders might actually see some rushes this week. I don't know what happened last week. They didn't run the ball almost at all against the Cowboys, and they were acting like the Cowboys were the Bucs or something. It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what that coach is doing, but I do know that they should run it this week, and I think Miles Sanders should be a fine running back 2. He's not anywhere near my running back 1 situation yet. I gotta see it first. Kenneth Gainwell, I don't think is a start, but I do think he's a monitor moving forward. At the wide receiver position, Devonta Smith. I actually think he's going to be a solid play this week. They're going to have to score the ball against the Kansas City Chiefs, so I think he's going to have a fairly solid game. The last 2 games haven't been great, but I do think that this one should be fairly solid. Moving on to the tight end position, I'm not really excited about Dallas Goedert considering that Zach Ertz is also there. I do think that Dallas Goedert is playable, but I have him as a low-end tight end 1. High-end tight end 2. And you're not playing the defense and you're not playing the kicker. Alright, time to pick this game. The Chiefs are a 7.5 point favorite, and I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs. I just think that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are upset at the way this season has started. The Chiefs are currently 1-2. They're at the bottom of their division. That is embarrassing. They need a win, and they need a statement win, and I think that they do that in this game. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode. If you want more breakdowns for the other games, check out my other episodes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit those notification bells down below. I'll see you on the next one. Peace. Good afternoon, Bay Nation. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Bay. I'm your host, Mike Williams, and today we're going to be going over the New Orleans Saints versus the New York Giants. We're going to start off with the Saints. Actually, we can make this one really quick. Alvin Kamara and the defense are the only two people I'm starting on this team. Not the quarterback, wide receivers, tight ends, or kicker. I'm not starting any of them. Alvin Kamara and the defense. That's it. Obviously, Alvin Kamara is an absolute beast, must start, but you just can't trust Jameis. And the other receivers are too up and down. There is nobody that's separating from everybody else, so I'm good on that. Moving on to the Giants. I'm not starting Daniel Jones, so moving on to the wide receivers. Kenny Golladay is a desperation flex play. I'm really not excited about starting him because he's currently dinged up, and that worries me. I haven't seen him have one of those big blow-up games with him going downfield, so I'm going to need to see it to believe it. I prefer not to start him this week if I didn't have to. The Saints are an incredible defense. Moving on to the running back position, Saquon Barkley had a fantastic game last week. Good for you. Welcome back, bro. But New Orleans is a different animal. I'm not excited about this, but you're starting Saquon Barkley if you have him. I would just limit your expectations to more of a running back 2 than a high-end running back 1. And Evan Ingram is going to get some targets. I believe the Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton are dealing with an injury and may not play this week. I think that's going to give Evan Ingram some more targets, and I think that he can produce off of that. That being said, again, you're going against New Orleans. The defense is good, so limit your expectations for all of these players. That's the end of the fantasy outlook. Now it's time to pick this game. The Saints are 7.5-point favorites. Oh, 7.5 is a lot, but the Giants suck. Give me the Saints at 7.5. As long as Jameis Winston doesn't turn it over 3 times, I think they should be good with this. Their defense is incredible, and Alvin Kamara is going to be an absolute beast. If you want any breakdowns for the other games this week, don't forget to look at the rest of my episodes. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And don't forget to check out my page for any other breakdowns you want to see for this week. Alright, good luck in your matchup. Peace. Good afternoon, Bay Nation. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Bay. In this episode, we're going to be going over the Las Vegas Raiders versus the LA Chargers. Starting off with the Chargers. Justin Herbert played incredible last week against the Kansas City Chiefs. I definitely think you fire him up in this one. Moving on to the wide receiver position, Mike Williams. No, not me, but the Mike Williams on the Los Angeles Chargers. He's been playing absolutely out of his mind. I love him this week. I think he's going to have a great game, just like he has been all year. And don't forget about Keenan Allen, one of the best route runners in the league. I definitely think you fire him up as well. These are both great starts this week. Moving on to the running back position, you gotta love Austin Eckler. Eckler's going to be involved in the passing game and the running game, and no other running back is relevant. Moving on to the tight end position, Jared Cook I have as a fringe start at the tight end position. He's been kind of mad this year, but I do have him as a fringe play because I think he could get a touchdown. And I'm not starting their defense or their kicker. Moving on to the Raiders. Starting at the top, Derek Carr has been playing extremely well this year. I definitely think you fire him up. You gotta start putting some respect on Derek Carr's name. He is a solid weekly starter right now. Moving on to the wide receiver position, and I'm not really excited about anybody, but if I had to pick somebody, I would pick Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow's been getting a lot of targets, and he fell into the end zone last week. All right, next we have the running back position, and this is really where it gets weird. Mind you, this is the Monday night game, so you have to really have a backup plan or be very secure with your options before you decide you're going to play Josh Jacobs, who may not play. Peyton Barber, who if Josh Jacobs plays, how much does he play? And then Kenyon Drake is, I can't even with Kenyon Drake right now. Kenyon Drake is not getting any love from John Gruden. Apparently John Gruden loves Josh Jacobs, loves Peyton Barber, and paid Kenyon Drake for no reason. I'm actually trying to stay away from this backfield if I can. I just want to see how it plays out. Without knowing if Josh Jacobs is going to play, you can't really be super confident in Peyton Barber. And you can't really be super confident in Josh Jacobs because how much is he going to get involved? So I'd probably try to stay away from that. And moving on to the tight end position, everybody knows you're starting Darren Waller. He's the second best tight end in the league, and it'll be like that all year. Fire him up every week. And I'm not starting their defense, but I would start their kicker. Their kicker's very solid. And he loves fantasy football, which I love. Alright, so that's going to do it for the matchups in this one. Now it's time for Pigskin Pick'em. The Chargers are 3.5-point favorites in this one. I understand why, but I just have a feeling that the Raiders are going to do work. They're going to keep it within a field goal. Put some respect on Derek Carr's name. Alright, that's going to do it for this one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you have any questions, hit me up. If you want more content like this, check out my page and you'll get breakdowns for the rest of the games. Good luck this week. Peace. In this episode, I go over the Washington football team versus the Atlanta Falcons. Alright, let's start with the visitors, the Washington football team. Starting at the top, Taylor Heineke has been playing fine. I really don't want to start him if I don't have to, but desperate times cause desperate measures. The Atlanta Falcons don't scare me, so if you're extremely desperate, I think it's a fine play. Next, we have the wide receiver position. Terry McLaurin is an absolute must-start, top 12 play this week for sure. Atlanta Falcons obviously don't scare you. He's going to have a great game. Curtis Samuel, I believe, has been activated from the IR. I won't be playing him, but keep an eye out for him. And if he's on your waiver wire, go scoop him up. Next, we have the running back position. Start up Antonio Gibson. He looks like he's going to be getting the work, excluding in the passing game. I don't understand why they don't pass him the ball. He gets the ball 2 times last week, and one of them he takes to the house for 75 yards. What are you doing, Ron Rivera? Get this man the ball in space. Coming into this year, they're talking about treating him like Christian McCaffrey. Where's all that treatment at? Throw him the ball. Anyways, I'll get off my soapbox. Moving forward, J.D. McKissic is not a player that I'm really looking to start. He got a lot of work in week 1, but he's faded off in these last couple weeks. I don't think that he needs to be in your lineup. Moving on to the tight end position, Logan Thomas is a solid start for the tight end. I definitely think he's going to end up top 7-ish. That seems to be where he's landing recently, and the Falcons don't scare you. The Washington defense has been meh this year. They came in thinking they'd be one of the best defenses in the league, and they have not been. But I think that they have a fine game against Atlanta. I don't see Atlanta putting up a bunch of points anyways. Moving on to the Atlanta Falcons. No one's starting Matt Ryan. He looks old and he's not throwing it downfield. Next up, we have the wide receiver position. Calvin Ridley has had an okay season so far. I expected him to come out firing, but it looks like the attempts are down for this team. Matt Ryan isn't throwing it as far down the field as he used to, and he kind of looks a little washed. But I do still think there's time for it to turn around, and I think this might be a get-right game. The Washington football team is one of the worst teams in the league at covering the wide receiver, so watch out for Calvin Ridley having a solid game this week. Moving on to the running back position, I actually think that Mike Davis and Cordero Patterson can both be flex plays. The Washington football team has not been good against the receiver, but they have been very good against the running back. So I do think that Mike Davis and Cordero Patterson are going to have a little bit of a tough time, but Cordero Patterson has been getting a lot of work in the receiving game, so I think that that's going to balance him out. And Mike Davis, I just see him as a flex play. Tight end position, Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts has been fairly disappointing so far for the people that drafted him in the top 6 rounds, which is why we were trying to say you shouldn't draft him in the top 6 rounds, but I'm just going to... Anyways, so I think that you can start him. I have him as the middle of the pack tight end. Nothing special, but he's definitely going to get some targets in this one. So I think you can fire him up. I do think that he's going to be better than he has been so far. Is he going to return top 5 value? I don't think so, but better for sure. And I'm not playing their defense, and you can play the kicker if you want. All right, it's time to pick this game. The Washington football team is favored by 1.5. The game is in Atlanta, so I got to give them the advantage. I'm not extremely confident about this one, but I feel like it's going to be a fairly close game, and both teams are playing pretty bad, so it's kind of a toss-up. Alright, that's going to do it for this one. Check out my next episode where I talk... Alright, that's going to do it for this one. If you want more team breakdowns, check out my other episodes. I break down every game. See you soon. Good luck this week. Peace.